Hi guys, and welcome to episode number 70, I believe, of the Happy Knitting Podcast. My name is Julia and I'm coming to you from Germany. Today is Wednesday, the 4th of January 2017. So happy new year to everyone. I'm a little confused because, as you might or might not know, I usually record on Mondays, so whenever my routine gets thrown off, I'm just very confused. But anyways, I hope you had a wonderful Christmas and New Year and holidays, and I'm so happy that you're back here with me to talk about some knitting. So today I have so much stuff to talk to you about, a lot of new projects, a lot of new things, and I'll start off with some knit-along news. So I have started 2 knit-alongs. I think one I talked about briefly last week. So the informal knit-along, as I will call it, because it won't have a finished object thread, it won't have prizes. At least I don't think we will have prizes for that one. That's just something that I want to do for myself, and lots of you guys wanted to join in and do the same thing. And that's the One Ball with Love Sock-KAL, which is aimed towards commercial sock yarn. So I just made a pledge to myself to use at least 1 ball of commercial sock yarn per month and knit some socks, and not necessarily reduce my commercial sock yarn stash, but just to work through it, because I know I'll always buy more, and there's just some really nice commercial sock yarn in my stash that I love but never really get to knit with, because then I'll choose to knit with indie dyed yarn instead. So that's running in the podcast Ravelry Group, which is called the Happy Knitting Podcast Group on Ravelry. And so many of you guys have already joined in, which was super fun and definitely helped me get a head start as well. And so yeah, that's the first knit along, and thanks to a lovely viewer who suggested the name One Ball with Love. The second KAL that I started, I posted a short video to introduce it because I had this idea when we were on holidays, and I really just wanted to get it out into the world because I was so excited. And that's the Geeky Sock-Along. So I think lots of us knitters are kind of geeky in lots of different ways, and I have wanted to do some kind of geeky fandom, Harry Potter, something geeky knit-along for ages. So I decided to host the Geeky Sock-Along, which is a knit-along for socks that are somehow geeky. So you can either knit a geekdom related sock pattern, so a lot of people are doing Hermione's everyday socks, or there are lots of Gilmore Girls patterns out there. There's lots of fandom related sock patterns on Ravelry already, and there have been many posted in the Ravelry group as well. Or you can knit with a yarn that is somehow geeky inspired, and I know that a lot of my hand-dyed yarns are actually somehow they have a nerdy sort of a name, or they relate to something, so that definitely works. Or if you decide to do something entirely different, as long as you can explain to me why it is nerdy or geeky, that will definitely count. So I will open an FO thread in a couple of weeks. We have a chatter thread going, and there's lots of chatter already going on, which made me so excited. Like I said, just join in the chatter, and when you post your finished objects, please just explain to me why it is geeky. And geeky can be in the widest sense possible. I'm not going to be very strict about it, but I want you to have some kind of reason why you enter your finished object. So I wasn't sure how long to run it for, and that's because I don't want it to drag on forever, but at the same time I feel like there's so much you could do with this KAL. So I made a poll on the Ravelry group, and some people wanted a 2-month knit along, some wanted 3, and some wanted a way longer knit along. Someone even suggested doing it for the entire year. So I decided we'll do a compromise. We'll do 3 months for now. So it will run until the 31st of March 2017. And then we can always reevaluate. We can see if we want to keep it going or do something different, or whatever we decide to do. I will definitely just run it for the 31st of March until for now, and that's when I will also give away some prizes. So I have one prize that's already here, and that is a skein of yarn. This is again from Stacy of Twisted Threads, who has a yarn dyeing business in the States, and she's at twistedthreads.com, I believe. And I knit with this yarn recently, and this is the second skein that she sent me for a giveaway or knit along. And this is again in her 9010 superwash merino and nylon base, so it is very luxurious. It's called Awesome Sock is the base, and the colorway is green apple. And this has 480 yards, so this is a really generous skein. So this will go to one of the Geeky Sock-Along winners, and I also have quite a lot of stitch markers and stitch holders from Knitting in France. I won't show you all of them because you've seen them before, but I'll just throw some in with the prizes as well. So thanks to Twisted Threads and Knitting in France for providing these prizes. So that's at least one prize down, and if any of you are makers of any kind and you would like to donate a prize, please do not hesitate to get in touch with me. Of course, only if you want to. So that's it for the knit-alongs for now. I hope that made sense. I feel like I'm really out of the podcasting thing, even though that's not really possible because I only took a break for like a week. But I think whenever my routine changes and we've been away, and that always just kind of messes with my system. So anyways, so let's talk about some finished objects. But I'll have some tea first. This is actually a new mug that I really love. We found these on sale after Christmas, and we bought 2 of these ho 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 mugs. And I just thought, or we both thought they were so cute. And these are by I believe she's German, but she might be Austrian, illustrator called Katz und Tinte. And she has a really fun Instagram feed. I love her. So yeah, that's my new cup. And yes, it seemed kind of crazy to buy Christmas cups in January, but we really wanted them and we didn't have any, so why not? Finished objects. I'm wearing one of them. This is also in the same yarn that I just showed you. This is also from Twisted Threads in her Awesome Sock base, 9010 base, and this is the colorway Sierra Sunset. And lovely Stacy gifted this one to me to try and to just enjoy her yarn. And out of it I knit the Close to You shawl, which is a free pattern by Justina Lokowska. And I hope I'm not butchering it, but I probably am. So it's a free pattern. I knit it on 3.5mm US size 4 needles. And it is a shawl that is essentially knit on the bias. So you start with a couple of stitches and you knit on the border as you're just increasing the stitches. So this is where I started. Hang on. This doesn't make any sense. This is where I started, and then you just kind of knit down. And I can't take it off because, as you know, I have the microphone attached to it. So it was either not showing it to you worn or just showing it to you worn. So that's what I decided to do. But as you can see, it's really pretty. It's just a garter stitch shawl with this pretty border. I did block out the points, but I didn't block them out too aggressively. So I guess I could still do that. And when I finished it, I basically just knit until I was really close to running out of yarn. I think I did about 21 repeats. And sorry, I'm getting really sidetracked because there's snow outside and it's really stormy. So there's like these just clouds of white storm and leaves and everything being blown out right in front of my window. Anyways, yeah, so I just knit until I ran out of yarn and cast off, and I did not do the picot bind off that was in the pattern because I'm just not a huge picot fan. Sometimes I am, but with this pattern I felt like just a normal bind off would be fine. And when I bound it off, we were on holiday, so I didn't block it immediately, and I did wear it, and it felt a little bit too small. Like, I really liked it, but I was thinking, well, next time I will definitely knit it with more yarn. But yesterday I actually, when we got home, I blocked it out, and now it's just a little bit bigger, and I think now the size is really great. I really like it. I could wear it more tightly like a scarf, but I think it just drapes really nicely with this sort of eyelet border and everything. I'm really happy with it now, so I can definitely recommend that to you guys. So that's the first finished object, but I have more. I finished actually parent number 51 in 2016. I finished these on New Year's Eve, and these are socks for my sister. Both of my sisters have ordered socks, and I think this year I'll definitely be knitting them lots of socks as well because they really appreciate them. But this is for the older sister. And yes, they seem kind of different lengths, but I've measured them 1,000 times. And I counted rows 1,000 times because that's what I usually do. But yeah, I realized that they don't look like they're the same length. But I think they are. Row-wise, they definitely are. I use the same needle, so there's no reason why they should be different lengths. Anyways, this is a Anne and Carlos Regia yarn. I don't have the ball band with me because, as you know, as soon as I finish projects, I take them out of the project bags, and that's when all the ball bands get lost. But I have it linked in my project page. As you can see, I did purposely not do matching socks, but I mismatched them, so I made sure to start in a very different part of the color repeat both times. And because my sister wanted some tighter, stretchy socks, I did a 1x1 rib at the top for 20 rows, but then I knit the entire socks in a 6x2 rib, so knit 6, purl 2, and that makes for a really sort of stretchy fabric, so that should hug her legs and feet nicely. I did my usual Fish Lips Kiss heel, which I absolutely love. I get asked a lot of times which heels I use, and I almost exclusively use the Fish Lips Kiss heel. It is such a great pattern. I admit there's like 10 pages or something, and I've never read any of them except for the actual heel instructions. So I think the other pages are about creating a cutout for your foot and stuff, which is absolutely fantastic if you haven't knit socks before. I definitely think there's some valuable information there, but when I started using this heel, I already kind of figured out how I like to knit my socks, so I only ever read the part that explains the heel itself. But yeah, and then the bottom of the feet I obviously did in stockinette. And this is a really, really interesting pattern for the sock. I think it's interesting more than anything else. My sister really likes it, which is the main thing. And it is a ridiculously long color repeat as well. If you look, I think the entire leg is essentially the color repeat. So that's a very long repeat. But yeah, I'm really happy with them. I knit them on 2.5mm needles, which is a US size 1.5. And I did only 56 stitches because my sister has tiny feet. So they are done, and I will give them to her on Friday, which I'll talk more about later. And then my last finished object I'm ridiculously excited about because it's just so beautiful. Ta-da! These are my Christmas cast-on socks. Well, essentially, actually, both of these I cast on Christmas Eve, but these were always planned to be my Christmas Eve cast-on, whereas these just happened to be cast on the same day. But this is my official Christmas Eve cast-on. The yarn is by Golden Yarns, who is Kim, and she's in the UK, and I think I've talked a lot about how much I love her yarn, but it's really, really true. And this was her Christmas colorway called Quality Street in her BFL nylon sock. I have knit with BFL nylon yarn before, but it was always a 2-ply, whereas I think this one is a 3 or 4-ply. I would say it's a 4-ply, but I'm not quite sure. But I love this yarn base for a start. It took me a while to get used to it because it is sturdy but still soft, and it just felt a little different to most of the sock yarns that I've worked with before. But then I just started enjoying it so much, and I enjoyed every single stitch. Seriously, this was one of my favorite socks in 2016 for sure. Well, I guess I finished it on the 1st of January or something, so these do count for my 2017 sock stats. But anyways, I absolutely love it. As you can see, I did a very long sock because I like long socks, and with yarn that's especially special, I definitely want to make most of the yarn. So I did 15 rows of 1x1 rib, and then I did my usual 80 row leg, 80 rows in stockinette, which is for me is the perfect length. Again, Fish Lips Kiss heel, and then just a stockinette foot, and I kitchenered the toe. And you can see that's the stitch marker where I was last week. So I finished the first foot or toe, and then I knit the entire second sock. And yeah, I'm just so in love with them. I can't stop showing them to you. I just think they're absolutely perfect. And I might actually wear these today after filming the podcast. The colorway is really beautiful as well. There's so many colors in here. And yeah, Kim is just really talented, but I'm sure you guys already know that. I'm already kind of waiting for her next shop update. So yeah, that's my finished object, and I knit this on US size 1, 2.25mm high sharps, and I did 64 stitches as they will be for myself. So, I'm sorry if you heard that. That's it for my works in what what's going on with my words today? That's it for my works. No, my finished object. Sorry, I'm kind of going insane. Let's talk about some works in progress, but before I talk about mine, let me show you some of Kai's works in progress. So Kai finished his scarf that I showed you about 2 weeks ago, I believe. But I think actually today, the one day that I want to show it to you guys, he's wearing it for the first time. So I can't show that, but as you know, he cast on a pair of socks. Well, I cast on a pair of socks for him, and he started knitting on them, but the sad news is that I don't think it's going to happen. He doesn't love it, and I think it was more me wanting him to be a sock knitter than anything else. So these socks, sadly, will be frogged. I probably frog them today and then reknit them for him at some point. He really wanted me to just keep going on them for him, but I changed the gauge for him because he was knitting looser than I was, so I would have to increase stitches, and they're just not. I'm just a perfectionist, and if I'm going to be knitting them for him anyways, I want them to be perfect, so I'm going to frog them and then reknit them at some point. But we went yarn shopping, and that was a big adventure. I'll talk more about that later. But he picked up some yarn to knit a another scarf, because he loves knitting scarves. And the yarn that he picked out is this one. It is it's from Lana Grossa, and it's called Capello, which is a super bulky in the colorway 9. And you get this crochet hat instructions with the ball. And we picked up 2 skeins, which is 200 grams altogether. And look, he's already half done. So this time he's knitting a super wide, super bulky scarf, and I absolutely love it. He loves it, and I'm kind of trying to get him to knit it for me because I just think this would be so cozy, and I would love to have a scarf because I don't actually own any scarves. And yeah, I just think it's really great. He's doing very, very well. He's using 6mm needles, which I believe is a US size 8, but I'm not quite sure. We bought these Knit Pro Zings because my lovely boyfriend could not wait one day to get home and start the scarf. He had to start it right away, so we had to buy needles for him. But yeah, it's just a girdle stitch scarf. I think he's doing 27 stitches and slipping the last stitch for a nice edging, and he's doing really well. And I think we both realized that this sort of thing he really loves, and whereas the socks are just not going to work. And yeah, there's a needle poking out. So that's Kai's work in progress. I just wanted to show that to you guys. Talking about my works in progress, let me show you my blanket, which I didn't show you last week. This is my crochet blanket, and I did not take this with me on the holidays, and I missed it so much. It was kind of ridiculous. So, this is it. It's getting very, very huge, and that makes it hard to show, and that also means that my 5-gram mini skeins that I'm using only exactly last half a round. So one edge looks pretty much different to the opposite edge, just because, like I said, the minis don't go all the way around. But I don't care. So the last time I showed it to you, I was at that green stripe, so I added a couple of really small minis from Grace and Laurie, who sent me this amazing package, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago. And I really honestly don't know what they are. And now I'm knitting, crocheting with this yarn, which is the yarn that I used to knit my socks that I finished last week. These are the Ponderosa Wolle socks that I finished last week. And I'm using a size 4 hook, which I believe is a G hook in American terms. And this is just a giant granny square. So there's lots of tutorials on how to crochet a granny square. I'm not going to go into much detail, mostly because I don't have any ideas about the terminology of crochet. I am not very advanced in crochet at all. But I'm loving this project, and I love how huge it is. Yesterday I was working on this while also cuddled up under my knitted Cozy Memories blanket, and I was just into all of the blankets, and I really want to start another one as well. I'm just really, really enjoying this project. And yeah, it's so scrappy and colorful. So that's my Scrappy crochet blanket. So I'm back. I'm sorry, today the camera is being more fussy than usual, and I'm just not on my game. So yeah, let's try to continue this podcast. So let's talk about some works in progress. I have my breathing space sweater, which I have titled the Endless Sweater because it's just not ending, and I'm so sick of it, to be honest, not because of the pattern or the yarn or anything. It is a beautiful pattern called Breathing Space by Vera Valimaki, and the yarn is fine as well. It's just that my attention span is too short for this, and I tried it on yesterday, and it is an A-line sort of sweater, and even though I have skipped the increases, it's still it is very tight in the top, or it fits perfectly in the top, and then it kind of flares out, and it's not really my shape. I think it'll look good once it's done, because I've looked at lots of people wearing the sweater, and it always looks beautiful, but yeah, I don't know, I'm just not feeling it. So I have started doing some decreases, and that might completely mess up the sweater as well, because the sweater is knit on the bias, so I'm not quite sure what's happening. But I've just tried to modify it a little bit to my liking, and this is what I've done. So I finished with the straps now. So now I'm just going to knit with the gray until I finish the body and bind off, and then I'll have to knit the sleeves. I am thinking whether I should maybe finish one of the sleeves now first and then knit the body, but then I'm not sure about yarn and yardage and all that, so I'm not quite sure what I'm doing yet. I am definitely forcing myself to work on this. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with it at all, it's just not really my thing, and I'm not a huge garment knitter at the moment. I used to be. I knit lots of garments in the past. But yeah, and fingering weight sweater, it takes a while, and I'm always kind of torn because I like the simple patterns. I like this featherweight and this kind of thing where it's lots of stockinette and very little thinking. But then again, maybe if I did something with more cables or something that was more involved, maybe I would like it more. But then I don't like knitting cables. So yeah, I'm just not a huge sweater knitter, I think. The yarn that I'm using is Drops Flora, which is a wool and alpaca blend. And yeah, I really quite like it. I think it's a good sweater yarn. It's fingering weight, and it is reasonably soft. It is, of course, it's not a merino or anything. It's a little bit more fuzzy, but I do like it. And yeah, I'm just going to keep going and at least finish the body. But I will be honest, this sweater, I never put anything into hibernation. I always try to finish my works in progress, because once I start putting things away, I will never finish them. But with this one, I was really close to just throwing it in the corner and not looking at it for a while. Anyway, so that's my first work in progress, except for my blanket, if you want to count that. Next, it's all new cast-ons. So in here is my first cast-on for the One Ball with Love KAL. So I'm using commercial yarn, and this is a pair of socks for my sister, for my other sister this time. And she picked this yarn, and I'm really glad that she did, because it's a beautiful, beautiful colorway, but I probably would not have picked it, just because my eye always goes to the crazy colors. But this is a Regia yarn. It's in the Polar Night series, Polar Night color, and the colorway number is 9023, which I've also linked in my project page. So I'm knitting some blueberry waffle socks for her. I adapted the stitch count for fingering weight, and I'm doing 56 stitches. I did 20 rows of 2x2 rib, and now I'm just knitting on the pattern, 2 at a time, as you can see, on a US size 1.5, 2.5 millimeter needle. This is the higher sharps, and I put in the Fish Lips Kiss heels yesterday. So now I'm just knitting on the feet. So again, this sister also has relatively short or small feet, so these should go quite quickly. And I'm really, really happy about these. Talking about the knit along and everything, I have started to be more organized with my project pages. First of all, a couple of weeks I started writing out, actually a couple of months ago, I started writing down some notes on my vanilla socks or my easy socks. Because I do write project page notes for complicated patterns, but for socks a lot of times I don't. But I have started being more mindful about how many stitches I do and how many rows of leg and stuff I knit. And it's actually proven to be quite useful, especially for gift knits. For example, with this pair, I asked my sister how long does she want them in comparison to the Christmas pair that I knit her. And when she said that she wanted them a little bit longer, I could look up and see that on her Christmas socks I did 50 rows of leg, so this time I'm going to do maybe 60 or 70, so that's actually quite useful for me. And what I've also been doing is I've been using more tags on Ravelry to organize my projects into categories, because a lot of times I actually need to look at past projects, and looking through 184 projects on my project page just is insane. So I've started using tags for the different knit-alongs that I'm participating and hosting, and that might also make it easier for you guys to find something if you're looking for project pages for a certain project of mine. So maybe that's interesting to you guys. Next, I have cast on a shawl, and I'm so excited by this. This is a project that I've been meaning to cast on since November. Actually earlier than that, but in November I bought the pattern. And yeah, I've just been wanting to cast it on, but with Christmas knitting I just never had time. I finally cast on my Excuse Me shawl, which is a Brioche shawl pattern by Stephen West, and it is insane and I love it. So I'm doing a Scrappy Excuse Me shawl, and that means that I'm using one solid color for one side. So this kind of looks pretty normal, right? And this is Madeline Tosh in the Silver Fox colorway. And then I'm just using crazy scraps for the other side, for the second color, and oh my gosh, I love it even more now that I'm seeing it on camera. It is so awesome. I'm having so much fun. I cast this on the first day of a holiday, and yeah, I would say if you haven't knit brioche before, maybe choose a different pattern, because I thought that this setup was quite not terribly difficult, but it was a hassle for sure. I actually did my cast on twice, not because I made a mistake, but because I felt like the cast on edge I should have gone up a needle size to do that, and yeah, there's just a lot of stuff going on, and when you start it, but then once you get into the rhythm of it, it's so easy, and it just flew off my needles. So hang on. So theoretically, this is the top part, and I guess the difficulty is because you're doing sort of like the top along the edge as well. That makes the cast on a little bit tricky. And then it's just brioche with a couple of increases and decreases, and it is so much fun. I'm just enjoying using all these leftovers and picking my next color. And theoretically this is the front, but I think I'm going to wear it the crazy way. And all these leftovers are minis that I already had, either from past projects that I knit, or from people who, whenever someone gifted me a Madeline Tosh Merino Light mini, I always just kind of kept them separately and didn't put them into my blanket. So let me show you. This is Electric Rainbow, which I used for my Because I Love You wrap, together with the dark gray, which is called El Greco. The pink one is the only one that's not Madeline Tosh Merino Light. This is Knitting in France in her Merino Light base, which I used for my Brioche with a Twist design shawl. Then again, Electric Rainbow. And these two are from my friend Marion. She used them to knit shawls. I think she actually used the light pink one for the Squishalicious shawl that I designed. Again, Knitting in France and El Greco. And I have a couple of different minis that I haven't put in yet, so I just kind of have them in this little bag. So the red one and the white one I used for my Emiliana shawl, which was my first time knitting with Madeline Tosh. And then there's also this beige mini that I got from Johanna, who has the Great Skein yarn store. And yeah, I'm just putting them in, and I'm just having so much fun. I love how crazy and scrappy this is, and I'm already planning my next one. So if you're into brioche, I think you will definitely enjoy this pattern. And I kind of fangirled when Stephen West commented on mine on Instagram, even though I didn't tag him, so yeah, that was kind of fun. I am in the last section now, so there's like two main sections, I suppose, and now I'm just going to keep knitting until I run out of yarn or get tired, and then I'll do the bind off. And the pattern is originally written for DK weight, I believe, DK or Sport, and I'm using fingering weight, but it doesn't really matter, and I think it's going to be quite big anyhow, and I'm just going to keep knitting until I want to stop. So yeah, that's my crazy Excuse Me shawl, and I'm using 3.5mm needles for this, Nova Cubics, and they're kind of driving me insane because I don't like the cable on them. The cable is so twisty, and especially with Brioche where you have to move your stitches back and forth on the cable, it was a pain, even though I do quite like the tips of them. But yeah, they're not my favorite needles, and I mentioned this before. But I'm just, can you see how scrappy and beautiful it is? I absolutely love it. So that's my Excuse Me shawl by Stephen West. And he has so many good brioche patterns. I love brioche. And then my last cast on is a very, very special cast on. So it's my first cast on for my Geeky Sock-KAL, and the yarn that I'm using is very special. This was a gift from a lovely friend of mine. This is yarn from Brew City Yarns, which she got from me at Stitches Midwest last year. And it's in their Lucky Charms sock yarn, which is a merino nylon and stellina base. And it is, seriously guys, it's the most sparkly yarn that I've ever seen. And the colorway is Can't Stop the Signal, which is Firefly inspired. So that perfectly goes with my Geeky Sock-KAL. So I thought that was a perfect yarn to cast on. I've kind of been saving it in my stash because it was so special, but now I'm so happy to be knitting with it because it's just so, so, so beautiful, and I love it to death. Yeah, I love it. So I cast on a pair of socks because, of course, it's Sock-KAL, and because I really just want the colors to look their best and not be distracted by a pattern, I cast on a pair of vanilla socks. And these are just flying off the needle so far. How gorgeous are these colors, guys? I am so in love with this. So I did 2x2 ribbing for 20 rows, and now I'm just knitting stockinette. And it's just so pretty and sparkly, and there's so many colors in this skein. It is unbelievable. So if you ever is lucky to get your hands on a skein of this, I would definitely recommend it. I'm also using new needles. I'm using for the first time Chalgu red lace needles in the US size 1 2.25 millimeter size, because lots of people have recommended them, especially Connie, who has the Chili Knits podcast and yarn. She kept talking about them and they sounded amazing, so I ordered a pair for myself. And yeah, these are really fantastic. I'm usually a big higher sharps fan, but yeah, these are great. They have similar tips, I think. They're pretty sharp and they slide really well, but they have a very different cord. The cord is much more sort of stable and less kinky than the higher sharps. And I didn't think I would like a cord that's more, it's a bit less flexible, I guess. I don't know how we would call it, more sturdy maybe. But I'm really, really enjoying it. It took me a couple of runs to get into it, but now I'm really seeing how so many people like them, and I might have to get some more in the future. I'm not quite decided if I like them more than my higher highs right now, but they're definitely a contender. So yeah, I'm just so excited about this. By the way, I'm doing 64 stitches. And these will definitely be for me, and yeah, they're the perfect start for my Geeky Sock-KAL. So that's my last cast on, and last work in progress as well. So let's talk about some acquisitions. So I'm kind of embarrassed because I bought yarn again, but let me start. We went on a holiday, and on the holiday we always go to this one yarn store in Kempten. Well, that sounded weird. I always sound weird when I switch between German and English. I forget pronunciation in both languages then. Anyways, in Kempten there's a yarn store, and they're actually one of the very few yarn stores I know that have a huge sock yarn selection, so I always love going there. And the day before we went there this year, I saw on their Facebook page that they're relocating, so they're actually having a huge sale. So I already knew that that was going to be very dangerous. And also, this was the first time that we both went there with Kai being a knitter. So yes, we went a little insane. I'm not going to show you everything that we got, but I'm just going to show you what I got. So it was really funny because we walked in, and in the past it would be like Kai either being bored out of his mind, or I would try to distract him by suggesting yarns that we could buy to make him socks. But this time he just wandered off and picked all these things that he wanted and encouraged me to buy lots of things, and I think in the end we both got a bit of sticker shock because it did add up. But yeah, that's why we bought a lot of yarn. But like I said, about half of it is actually for him. So what I did pick up, I picked up a completely new to me yarn. I think this was like $2.50 a ball, and this is Cheval Blanc, which I would assume is a French yarn. And this is an alpaca wool blend. I think it's like a worsted weight or something. It's 100 meters per 50 grams. I would say that's a worsted weight, right? So I just grabbed 2 balls because I thought this would make a really nice and cute hat. I'm probably going to do some sort of striping or maybe even color work if I'm ambitious. But I just thought they were fun, and I never buy any yarn besides sock weight yarn. So yeah, I just grabbed these 2. And then of course, that's why I went there. I bought some commercial sock yarn. So I saw this one, and this is one that I wanted to get for a while. This is Regia Anne and Carlos design line. And it's just a special edition, color 3760. But it's their, I always kind of think this is their Christmas one, because it's reds and greens and grays, and it looks very Christmassy. So I just picked this up for the stash because I thought, yeah, that has to go home with me. And then I also picked up this one. This is an opal. It's one of the 100 Wasser colorways, which are made after a painting. And I've never seen this before, but I just thought the colors are really, really interesting. So let me see. Die freie Natur ist unsere Freiheit. Colorway number 3204. So these are definitely just to kick off my one ball with love cowl, and I'm super excited about them. That was all I was going to get, but then Kai completely enabled me. So already last time we were there, he actually got me a skein of Manos del Uruguay Alegria, because somehow that it's really, really cheap over there. I've never seen Alegria being cheap, but there it's actually really, really affordable. And when we saw that it was more, well, I didn't need much pushing, but anyways, I got another skein. And how cute is this one? I'm thinking this might be my Easter socks, because somehow this kind of screams Easter with the green and yellow, and again, very much out of my comfort zone colorway-wise. But I think it's really, really cute. So this is a 8686. It's their 7525 merino nylon sock yarn, Manos del Uruguay Alegria. So yeah, I'm kind of starting a Alegria stash now, because I get a skein of Alegria every time we go there. But yeah, I'm super excited for these, and like I said, maybe for Easter I will. Last year I had a pair of Easter socks, so I think I'm going to continue the tradition and do the same thing this year. And then we saw another yarn, and they had a huge basket of these sock yarns in all kinds of colors, and they looked really, really pretty. And the first time I walked around there, I didn't even look closer, because I was like, well, they are going to be expensive, and I don't really want to buy expensive sock yarn. And I came back to find out that all of them were reduced to like €5. So I just grabbed one of these neutral skeins. They had lots of really, really beautiful purples and blues and all that, but I really need some neutrals in my stash. And this is from Araucania Yarns, another brand that I've been wanting to knit with but never tried before. It's in their Ranko base, which is a 7525 sock yarn, colorway 2109, I believe. So yeah, I just thought this would be perfect for the stash, and I'm sure I'm going to need it for something sooner or later. It's not super soft. It's definitely just a very normal sort of 7525 sock yarn, but I just thought the tonality and the colors were quite nice, and again, a bargain. I had to have it. So that's all the acquisitions that I got. Kai also picked up some sock yarn, and he still buys it under the assumption that he will knit it, but I think both of us know that in the end I'm going to be knitting all those socks for him. So actually, really, I could be knitting him socks for an entire year. But yeah, I think he's kind of sad, because lately I've been doing lots of gift knitting for my sisters, and he got a pair for Christmas, he got a pair for his birthday, but that was pretty much it. So I think at some point I need to spoil him with more socks, but then maybe he's already spoiled enough. Anyways, you're not here to hear me talk about my boyfriend, do you? That's it for my acquisitions. I did also get some more yarn because I did get Christmas money. Actually, lots of presents this year came in money form, which is always great because that means that I can get something for myself that I really, really love. And yes, I did kind of go crazy with the yarn. But that's exactly what Christmas money is for, right? So that's it for my yarn stash and acquisition. Talking about stash, I actually last week reorganized my entire stash. And I don't know how that even happened, but I emptied all of my yarn bags because I store my yarn in Ziploc bags. Because I really don't want any moss or bugs or light or dirt or anything to get to my yarn. We did have moss in our old apartment, so that left me scarred. But even just generally, I think I like my yarn to be clean, and I totally see the like lots of people have the yarn out and it is really beautiful. I totally see why you would do that, but for me, I'm just too paranoid, so I have all my yarn in Ziploc bags. Anyways, I emptied all of them out and I had this huge pile of yarn on my desk. I did document it on Instagram. And then I sorted all of my yarn by purpose and by, for example, I sorted my 100% merino yarn separately because that's most likely not going to be socks. And I also kind of sorted by the really special one. And yeah, I just made up my entire system. And it was really, really good to look through my stash and see what I have. And it made me really motivated. Am I going to keep up this level of organization? Probably not. Because I have yarn coming in and going out of my stash pretty regularly, and I'm not going to reorganize everything every time I put something in or out of the stash. But it was fun to do, and it gave me a better idea of what I have and what I need. And so yeah, for me personally, it's really good to do that every now and then. Funnily enough, I really noticed how my attitude towards stash has changed. So in the past, I would always kind of feel weighed down if I have too much because I feel like I'm not knitting with it. And yeah, I didn't really like having a huge stash. But now I don't mind at all. I don't care at all. I think I have a beautiful stash and it's kind of, I treat it like my museum of yarn. And it doesn't weigh me down at all, which is great, except that it doesn't exactly make me stop buying yarn or encourage me to knit from my stash. But I don't really want to blow through my stash either. I completely understand knitting from stash is important. Of course, I love knitting from my stash. But I don't want to feel like I have to knit with it as fast as possible because otherwise it'll sit in my stash. I kind of view it more like my personal collection of happiness. And I'm sure I'll knit with it at some point in my life 100%. And everything that I have in my stash, I absolutely love. So yeah, that was really, I actually had lots of fun reorganizing it and touching all the yarns and feeling all the fluffiness. And yeah, that was good. And with that, I think we're pretty much done with the yarny content. I'm just going to talk about life in general. So if you're not interested in that, I'll just see you next week. And if you are sticking around, then let's just talk about what happened this week. So last week I recorded after we've just gotten back from our 2 Christmases, as I would like to call them. We celebrated Christmas with my family and then Kai's family, and then I recorded the one day that we were in Munich. And then we actually left again the day after. So we spent 5 days in an area called Allgäu, which is in the south of Germany. It's about 1.5 hours from Munich, and it's almost in the Alps. So you have all the beautiful mountains and scenery, and it's just a really beautiful place. And Kai's parents luckily have a small holiday apartment there. So I think this was my 4th time going there, and we always spend New Year's and New Year's Eve there. So it's just kind of this tradition that we go there over New Year's Eve and hang out, just the 2 of us, and it was the perfect holiday. It was amazing. Like, it was essentially just a holiday knitcation filled with all the things that I love. We hung out a lot. I got Kai addicted to Gilmore Girls, so funnily enough, he would be like, can we go knit and watch Gilmore Girls? And I was like, why, yes. So I did so much knitting, whereas before we were traveling by the train and I didn't have much time. I was just kind of taking a little bit of sock knitting with me. This time I took all the knitting things and the things that I wanted to cast on that needed a little bit of headspace, and it was the perfect knitcation. I did so much knitting and playing with the yarn and planning future projects, and we just hung out a lot in the apartment. There was an open fire, so it was super, super cozy, and yeah, I loved it. We also did one hike, which was fun, and we visited a couple of towns in the area. Like I said, we went yarn shopping, we ate lots of delicious food. On New Year's Eve, we actually stayed home. It's kind of, that also has become a tradition that instead of buying a expensive New Year's Eve menu or something, we just cook at home, and then the day after, we go out for dinner for half the price. So actually this year, Kai cooked, and it was delicious. I think he didn't actually like it as much as I did, but I was absolutely in love with. He made some salmon, and we also had soup and ice cream. And I'm not supposed to have ice cream because I'm not supposed to have milk, but it was delicious. So yeah, we just had a really, really good holiday. It was really relaxing, and one of these things where you only really realize how much you needed the relaxation and quiet and peacefulness once you have it. So that was really, really great. And then yesterday I drove us back to Munich, and I was actually also really looking forward to having my stash again. Yesterday it snowed, and it was really, really beautiful, and we also have snow here. It's actually snowing outside as I'm talking to you guys. So that makes me incredibly happy. I'm also really excited because on Friday we have the huge family meetup. So funnily enough, even though Kai and I have been going out for pretty much 3 years, our families have never met. Not because they didn't want to, but because they just live in different parts of Germany, and then Kai and I don't live with either of them, so it was just really hard for them to cross paths. So we decided that we would organize a meetup in Munich because both parties kind of are passing through. So on Friday they are going to meet for the first time, and we're going out to a lovely lunch in one of our favorite restaurants. And then obviously I need to get the apartment all cleaned and organized because we're probably going to spend some time here, and I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be really fun. I am probably going to be stressing out before that happens, but once we get here, it's going to be really fun. So yeah, that's what's happening. Besides that, I really just need to get back into the normal style of things. I'm hoping to hear back from a couple of job applications now that the holidays and stuff are over. And yeah, normal life has us back again. Yay. So I'm sorry for the ramble. I hope you have a wonderful week. Thank you so much for watching. Please join us in the Ravelry group, join in the KALs. Message me if you have any questions, and I will talk to you next week. Thank you so much. Happy knitting. Bye.